Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're doing well today. Today I'm going to be filming a little bit more of like an educational video. I'm basically going to be talking about primers. Why I think primers are a necessity, how I use my primers, what I would recommend, what are my favourites. Yeah, just a primer video. I am obsessed with primer. I think prepping your skin is the most important thing, and I think primer does that. So yeah, I basically was chatting with one of my friends who has been asking me quite a lot of makeup questions. She's been watching a few of my videos. She's basically wanted to up her makeup game. A recent video of mine, I spoke about putting more makeup on, because that was my advice to her. You don't really need to change too much of what you're doing, but just try and put a bit more on. And yeah, she basically was asking me about primers and whether I think they're essential, and I was like, well, you've come to the right place, because I definitely think primers are essential. So yeah, this is going to be a bit of like me chatting, going through, and I hope you enjoy it. I'd love it if you can like and subscribe. It would mean an awful lot to me. Let's get into it. So I basically pulled out my primer drawer, and I basically break, I don't know if I can show it here, basically break my primers down into like glowy primers, hydrating primers, and at the back here I have like mattifying and grip primers. So yeah, I'm gonna pull out these are like my glowy primers. I think there's a need for all of these. So glowy primers, I think everybody should have a glowy primer. Hydrating primers, I have dry skin, so I always like to start any kind of makeup off with extra hydration. And then I think like pore minimizing or like grip primers, again, I feel like you should just have one in your collection, because sometimes you need them. First of all, let's go through glowy primers. These are all like kind of similar, and I probably have so many purely because I love primers, and obviously now I've started YouTube, I have like been investing more in makeup. So this e.l.f. Halo Glow, it's a dupe for the Charlotte Tilbury. I actually preferred this to the Charlotte Tilbury. I really like the tones that they have. I think it's super affordable. Like, why, if the product is almost the same, why would I pay triple? Like, it's obvious to me to have the e.l.f. one. I use shade, I think this is shade 2. Yep, shade 2, but I do know they have one that's like a bit more like olivey and a bit like fairer, because they kind of brought out the main colours and they like added to the range. I love the finish of this. I would apply this when I'm wanting just extra radiance in my skin. I think it's just a really nice addition under skin tints or foundations, just to make your skin look a bit lively. I also think it's good to add a bit of colour. I'm a pale girly, so sometimes I need things like this to make me look less like Casper the Friendly Ghost. This 4-in-1 makeup is basically the same. This is quite handy for being on the go, because it comes with like a big dobber. But I would basically say these are very similar. Once I've used this, I probably will re-get it at some point, but it's not going to be something I rush to get because I've got others. But again, just putting it on underneath your skin tint or foundation, it just, yeah, makes you look more alive. This is a new one. This is the Blur from Made by Mitchell. I got this on a TikTok live, but apparently he's not coming out with this until like October. I find this has got a lot of shimmer in, so I find this quite similar to the MAC Strobe Dewy Skin Tint, which is very like almost like a highlightery kind of situation, which adds just like that kind of pearly glow, which is nice. I prefer something that is a bit like less, so I would kind of prefer these over like these, but like I do enjoy these. I like mixing these in with like foundations. These are the ones that I'd use more like day to day. These I would kind of use for more full glam when I want makeup that's really gonna stick, but I just still want like a bit of glow, so my skin doesn't look like super flat. I hope that makes sense. Then I've got the LUMI GLOTION, which actually at first I wasn't keen on, but this has been something that I've been grabbing all the time. This I'll basically just put on my face and I'll put a skin tint and I'll kind of like mix it together. It's got a really nice colour to it. This is not super hydrating. I would say it's almost, it's in between these and this. So these are kind of very soft glow. I'd say this is in the middle, and then these are like almost Tin Man shiny. What else have I got in here? I actually have these two that I keep in here. These are actual liquid highlighters, so these are like pure shimmer. Sometimes I will add these to skin tints. Again, I mean, I've probably got like 6 of the same products. So, but these are like pure highlighters. This one has a bit of pigment. I used to use this before I got the e.l.f. glow drops, because I didn't want to spend all the money on the Drunk Elephant one. I used this, but now I have the e.l.f. bronzing drops, which just add a lot of colour. They're not my favourite, but I think that's maybe because I don't tan, so I don't reach for it all the time. Maybe when I go on holiday. I haven't been on holiday yet this year, so maybe I would take these on holiday with me and get a bit more use out of them. But because I'm a pale girly, I don't find myself like needing to like bronze up my face, whereas obviously the girls that do tan, I know that they obviously don't, a lot of people don't tan their face and all that jazz. What else have we got on here? So I've got these little, so I've got the VIEVE Skin Dew and I've got the Wonderglow from Charlotte Tilbury. These, I would say, these are more of like a real like a bronzy glow. I would wear these like alone with concealer. I don't even know like how to describe the consistency. They're a bit like thicker than say like than the other ones I've shown, and I find that these add like hydration and glow because they're that bit thicker. But I just have minis of these. Would I necessarily get these again? I feel like they're not necessarily my favourite. I do like the VIEVE Skin Dew. I think this looks really nice with just concealer. It creates almost like a skin tint texture. So yeah, out of all of these like glowy primers, I would have to probably say that the e.l.f. is my favourite. And then coming up second is the GLOTION. These are what I would recommend. I did at one point love this MAC Strobe Dewy Skin Tint. I just found it quite expensive for kind of what it is, and now yeah, now I've got the GLOTION. Once I use this up, I probably wouldn't rebuy it. And yeah, this Blur from Made by Mitchell, I kind of bought it because I got excited on the TikTok shop. I mean, it is nice, but again, I don't think I would repurchase this. But yeah, these kind of glowy primers are just to create that like extra something. So yeah, I feel like they make you look just a bit more radiant. They give quite a nicer finish to some of my skin tints. I find that most of them mix well with my foundations. I quite like to like mix about. So yeah, they're my like glowy ones. Next we've got hydrating primers, and I don't have loads because the ones I have are like my favourites. We're going to start off with Elf and VIEVE. REFY and VIEVE. So this is my all-time favourite hydrating primer. It's the Skin Nova from VIEVE. This is like my 5th one. I tell everybody to get it. I buy it as gifts. It's like so good. So it's kind of like gold. I don't know if you can see that. My face is in it. So it's kind of gold. And it just is this kind of like just super hydrating. It's just stunning. I feel like it like plumps your skin. Yeah, I have dry skin, so I feel like I need that extra hydration to make my skin look nice. Obviously I do my skin prep in the morning, but sometimes it's like a few hours until I do makeup, and my skin by that time needs extra hydration. It makes my skin feel plump. It's got skincare in here. I will use hydrating primers mixed with my glowy primers. So I'll kind of pick a glowy primer and a hydrating primer. This REFY, again, is a really lovely one. This is super hydrating. I use this more for when in the winter because I feel like it gives my skin like all of the nutrients it needs. I don't really like this roller. I find that I can't really tell how much I'm using, but I do think it is a nice primer, and I probably still would use it in the summer, but I've just found myself reaching for this more in winter. I have this ELF CC Putty primer. It looks a bit gross. This is the CC one, and this is really lovely for hydration. I really like these putty primers. I get on really well with them. I am actually quite sensitive to vitamin C, but this doesn't seem to bother me at all. When this says it's a brightening putty primer, it's got like a slight yellow tint, and when it goes on your skin you can see that like almost yellowness, but it's not like obvious. And I really feel like it brightens. I think it does what it says. Again, this is quite hydrating, so if it was like a super hot day and I wanted like my makeup to stay on, I don't know if I would grab this because it is like really hydrating. But again, in the colder months or when my skin is just feeling a bit meh and I'm not going to be wearing loads of makeup, I will like reach for this. And it's a really like affordable price too. And then what else do I have here? This NYX Bright Maker, I am not a fan of. It's probably going to be something that I declutter, so I'm not really going to talk about this. Yeah, I'm just going to skip over this one. And then here I have 2 little minis, and these are basically like fancy moisturizers. Like I've said, because I've got dry skin, I can kind of load my skin up with a lot of hydration. So this is the LANEIGE Water Bank. This is spenny. I mean, these are both spenny. I'm sure there's like other moisturizers that do what these do, but I think something that's super key for me is making my skin feel really like plump. I find that when my skin feels like really plump and fresh, my makeup looks stunning, and I feel like both of these do that. This LANEIGE Water Bank cream, it's like a gel moisturizer, and it's really nice on the skin. It's not too heavy. And then this Skin Hero 2, when I'm having like a bad allergy day, I get like hay fever and I'm allergic to like dust mites and stuff, so this is kind of a bit soothing, so I quite like to put this on. Again, it's just all about that prep. If my skin's irritated and like dry, my makeup's going to look irritated and dry. So something like this is something I'd grab when I'm just having maybe like a bit more of like a flare up. So yeah, I don't have loads of these. I would say the VIEVE is my favourite. It is a little bit expensive. It's not like the most affordable product, but I love it. I feel like you can wear this with or without makeup too. My friend Harriet, I know she wears this for just like a bit of bronzer and concealer. So she kind of just uses this as her base. Yeah, so this is like my #1 like hydrating primer. Okay, now we've got blurring primers. I know I have a lot of primers, but I love primers, so I probably have like 2 or 3 that kind of do the same, but I just love them. Okay, so my favourite, I'm going to start off strong, the Iconic Underglow Blurring Primer. This is actually, it's like in a dropper, and it's kind of like a liquid form. I would say this is like a hybrid between like blurring and pore filling and hydrating. I feel like, again, it really plumps your skin. I do think it's blurring. I wouldn't say it's the most blurring, but I just think it, again, it just preps the skin really lovely. I find that if I'm using a really full coverage foundation and I don't wear this, I can tell. And I don't know whether that's just like mind games, but if I want my makeup to look airbrush and flawless, I'm reaching for this. Another Iconic primer, which is like a new purchase, is this Velvet Smooth. And this is super blurring. This is like more of like a thick, like creamy consistency. And yeah, this, even when I put it on my hand, like you won't be able to see, but the bit that I put it on, my fine lines are just smooth. So yeah, this I would kind of just use in the T-zone. Again, most of these like pore filling primers I'm using for like makeup looks. I'm not using these every day. I don't need my pores. I'm quite lucky I don't have like massive pores or loads of texture, so I'm not grabbing something like this every day. But when I want my makeup to look matte, I want it to look snatched, I want it to look like makeup-y, but like good makeup, these blurring primers are kind of what I'm grabbing. But yeah, both of these I think are really good. They're quite expensive. Iconic's not super affordable, but I think they are worth it. I do think they're good. A bit more of a bougie one is this Hourglass Veil. So this is a bit more of like a bougie product. I bought the mini. I love that Hourglass do mini, like luxury brands doing minis. I think it's very clever. It means I can buy this and try things out without spending like a fortune. This feels like butter. This is actually quite hydrating, and it's a luxurious kind of feeling on the skin. Do I think this one is necessary? Do I feel like $1,000,000 when I put it on? Yeah. Makes me feel luxurious. It does make my skin feel lovely. And I think if you do just want some nice makeup and you want to just spend a bit on makeup and just have something that's quite luxury, it is nice to have. But do I think that some of these other products do more? Yeah, I hope that makes sense. But yeah, this makes your skin feel like, when I'm putting it on, I love the feel. And it does kind of blur. I would say that this Iconic Velvet Smooth situation blurs more. So would I necessarily buy this again? I don't know, but makes me feel bougie when I'm using it. I've got this. This is the, I can never see what it's called. It's the True Matte Pro Filter Mattifying Primer from Fenty. This does mattify your face, but it's really hydrating. I probably would make sure I do have this in my collection, so like when I run out I'd probably repurchase again. It's a mini size. For somebody that has dry skin, I don't want a mattifying primer that is gonna like suck the life out of my skin. So when I say it's a hydrating mattifying primer, it does mattify your skin, but it doesn't make my skin feel tight. It just basically, it's quite hydrating, but when you put products on top, it mattifies. But yeah, this is what I use when I want like a really like full coverage, like super glam, like matte look. This is something that I reach for. Last but not least, we've got the e.l.f. We've got the matte putty primer. I've got like the mini one, and then the liquid poreless putty primer. This I actually really enjoy. I find myself not really knowing when to reach for this though, because if I'm wanting something to really fill in my pores, I'm probably gonna go for either one of these. If I'm wanting something that is gonna mattify, I do go for the Fenty. So I kind of find sometimes I'm looking at it like, when would I use you? But I do kind of tend to grab this when I'm wanting a bit more of like a glam look, but in the day. There's almost in between like my day-to-day makeup and like glam makeup. So it's a bit niche when I would use this, and I don't know, would I get this when I run out? Probably not. So this is probably like my least used, but it is super affordable. I do think it's a lovely primer. I just have better, if that makes sense. So yeah, my matte primers, I mean, I do love them, but I do really think that I use these more like in a very specific way. Apart from this iconic one, I do kind of grab this kind of every time I do like a glam makeup look. But these are a lot more like specific to a makeup look, if that makes sense. Because I do have dry skin, I can obviously put on quite a lot, but I do always set my face with powders. But I normally only set like in the middle. So with all my glowy primers, all that radiance is kind of like still there, like around my face. And for me, when primers show up the best is once your makeup has been on your face. I feel like when you're doing your makeup, you can't really tell that the primer's working or like what it's really doing. Obviously if it's like super mattifying or super glowy, you can see it. But for me, it's like 2 hours down the line or 3 hours down the line, I can then see how it's working with those products. So if I'm going for something pore filling and matte, 2 hours down the line, it's gonna look like that. If I'm choosing something glowy, 2 hours, 3 hours down the line, that's when it starts to like do its thing. I feel like people are like, why are you using a glowy primer and then putting powder over the top? But it's like, that's for when I'm like first doing my makeup. And then lastly, I have my two e.l.f. Power Grip primers. I have the minis. I actually really like this niacinamide one, and this is what I would use if I am going anywhere with a full face of makeup and it's going to be hot or sweaty. So if I'm going out to a club or a bar, if I'm going to a festival, if I'm going to a wedding, if it's the summer and I'm going out for a meal and I've got like a full beat on, this holds your makeup in place. I don't think this is necessary. I see the girlies using things like this like on a daily basis. I don't find that my makeup like slides around my face too much. Maybe that's because I have dry skin and like my oils, they come through but they're not like crazy. So I don't feel like I necessarily like need this. But yeah, any kind of like festival, it kind of just sticks everything on. But I feel like you can feel this, if that makes sense. So yeah, I would never use this like day to day. I think it's like unnecessary, but definitely just these are so cheap, these little mini ones. And I even think the bigger ones, if you are using it more than me, it's so affordable. So these are like my little grippy primers. So yeah, so that's my like a collection. I think with primers, it's like figuring out what you want. Like if you're wanting a little bit of colour and a bit of like radiant, a little bit of like colour into your skin and life, I would go for like something like the e.l.f. Halo Glow that's got a bit of like a tint to it, or the drops where they've got like a tone to it. If you're wanting something to like sheer into your skin tints or add into your skin tints and foundations, like I think it's figuring out what you want. If you want mattifying, if you want pore filling, yeah, it's figuring out what you want. I obviously play with a lot of makeup and do lots of different makeup looks, So that's kind of why I love primers. So that's kind of why I have so many. But yeah, if out of all of them, I was going to pick 3 that you should get, it would be these. These are my like favourites. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this, and yeah, hopefully see you again super soon.